Recording going on both cameras. So I was inspired to come on and talk about a dream that I'd had this week. And inspired, so first of all, let's just back up and talk logistics here. Things are going to be a little bit wobbly because I've got a little bit of a rickety setup, and I am also tired AF. So it's going to be a perfect night for dreaming tonight. But I've had some interesting experiences this week. First of all, is anybody else feeling like this week has been the words, I think it's been like time out of mind. I don't know. I have felt, and none of the words that usually describe this are good for really getting at like the heart of what I'm feeling. But I have felt like, I could say I felt a little bit off this week, but that's not quite it. I definitely felt, I felt tired, a little bit of like in a dream space. Like the past 2 days, I think I've said it's been hard for me to get my mind back in. It's not that it's racing. I don't even feel like my head is in the clouds. It's a different kind of experience where I'm not focused. I could talk about what I'm not. I'm not focused. I haven't been able to do work this week that requires a lot of brain power, a lot of sustained concentration. And I've had a lot of like creative projects going on that I've been participating in. So anyway, I feel like this week has been like that extra set of days that got added onto the calendar way back when. And it's like time that, like extra days that are not really there, but they're there, not really there, but there. It's been a strange experience this week. And I know we are in eclipse season. My computer is just deciding to run all of the scans right now. I know we are in eclipse season right now, so that puts the mind in a different place. But just curious, is anybody else feeling just a little bit strange this week? I would love to hear what you are experiencing and how you're handling it. For me, I'm just going with it. So I want to talk about our dreams and the way that they give us assignments. And for a moment, I want us to pretend like we are awake 24/7, or we are dreaming 24/7. So I want you to pretend for a moment, if you do not already live your life like this, that everything that you come into contact with, whether you're asleep or awake, is a dream. Or even while sleeping and dreaming, you approach that as though that is real life. So that is something to be given respect and to be considered and acted upon where appropriate. So the reason why I say that is because what I'm about to share is these are experiences that I've been having in both my waking life and my sleeping life, and they go together. It's a conversation that talks to one another. And I have experienced over the years that our dreams give us assignments. And if we are paying attention and we take action, we are led to places that we could not have known to lead ourselves, that contribute to the quality of our lives in ways that is just absolutely astonishing and beautiful. And I failed one of my assignments this week. That is why I'm telling you this. I just realized this today. I think it was today. It might have been yesterday. So I have come across I'm going to say a body of knowledge that I was introduced to years and years ago that I was fascinated by, and at the same time, I did not know what to do with it. So I went as deep into it as I could go. And then I moved on to other things. And recently, a piece of that material has come back into my life. And it was a very interesting experience. I was walking through a bookstore. I wanted a fiction book, and this was in waking life. So I'm awake as far as I can tell, and I had a sensation in my body. And I want you all to pay attention to these kinds of things in yourselves. So when we are inspired to take action on something, our body will talk to us. It will, if we learn how to hear the difference between a no, a yes, and a maybe, we'll start to understand when to take action. So we get an inspiration. And so what I might have to do if there's a part of me that's saying, I really want to go to the bookstore, I can check in with myself, and it might take a day or two, but in this case, I was very clear. I want to go to a bookstore. It's been a while. I don't know what I'm looking for. I wanted fiction. I knew that I wanted something that would like not require not academic. I didn't want to be studying anything. I wanted to be entertained. I wanted to have my imagination engaged and played with through somebody else's storytelling. So just to give you a little bit of guidance for yourself, if you're brand new to listening to the no's and yeses and maybes of your body, you're going to have to figure out what that means to you. And there's techniques that you can do to as you learn to cultivate this skill. But a really basic technique is when you get an inspiration, for in the beginning, just paying attention to what do you feel like in terms of sensation internally. Do you feel like your body just took a big breath of air, like you expanded, somebody might say? Maybe maybe your eyes literally light up. Maybe something in you feels like it just said wow or oh, or like some sort of very youthful, like childlike, excitement about the thing. That's something to pay attention to in terms of, it's very possible that something in you just got lit up, and that's a yes. Something to pay attention to. Sometimes our no can feel like holding our breath, or you might notice that somewhere, maybe you habitually get tired, like tension in your neck or tension in your low back, or maybe your stomach habitually cramps up. There's a contraction that happens for some people when their body is saying, no, that's not the right choice for me. So that is one option. Your yeses and your nos may be very different than what I just described, but those are just words to help you start tuning in and seeing if any of that is a response for you. And if it is, then you start playing with it and like fine tuning it. If none of those words that I gave as descriptors are what, like how your body speaks to you, then you have to figure out what your body's language is on a sensorial perspective. So my whole system said it's time to go find an actual physical book, and we're looking for a fiction book. I actually was looking for poetry. That's what I wanted, but then it became fiction. And all of this is only relevant because what I walked out of there with was like a research text. And here's the thing. I saw a number of books that I was interested in that I didn't know were out there, books on mythology. And that was interesting to me because I have, over the last, I would say, 5 or 6 years, been struggling with our mythic stories, because I feel like felt like our myths and archetypes are in a time of reworking some of these things that those of us who spend a lot of time in the symbolic world, for me, a lot of those stories weren't working anymore. It's like they were outdated, and they needed to evolve, and I wasn't coming across people who were allowing the stories and the archetypes to evolve. There's some people out there who have been doing it, but like few and far between. So I was struggling with using myth and archetype, mythic stories and archetypes to continue to work with any of my clients, teach any of my students, and any of the symbolic work I was doing. So I had kind of fallen out of love with myth and archetypes, and having a really hard time with that because that had been so much of my life. So some of the first books that I found in this trip to the bookstore were like well written, new revisions, new retelling of some of these mythic stories that I had grown up with, that always leaned heavily in this one direction. And in these mythic retellings, there was like a fuller bodied picture. So I'm telling you all this because I was really excited. I was like, but I put the books back and some part of me non-verbally said, what else is here? So this is how I'm moving through the bookstore. I go to covers, and I love picking things up and touching them, and like if something's embossed. So it's a very tactile, very sensual experience for me to go out into the world, and I'm sure it is for a lot of you. What happened is I landed on a book that I was not looking for. I did not know I was looking for, but what I typically do is I'll read the first couple of pages of the book rather than reading the synopsis of the back cover. I'll read just to see if it's something that holds my attention. Do I like the language and the way that it's written? And this book, I just kept reading. So I ended up bringing it home and immediately shared the title with a couple of people, one of whom already had the book, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's the book story. Now, this next piece, okay, I did find this next piece again in waking life. So while I was awake, I don't remember what I was looking for. I don't even remember if I specifically went to Etsy, but somehow, and I have the picture up on one of my screens here because I wanted to remind myself of how this feels, because in a minute you're going to see where I failed my assignment. So I was looking for something, and I came across this absolutely beautiful, it's only like palm sized, holy water font. It's a vintage, I think from the 1960s, beautiful blue accented with lilies and stairs, like ladder. I mean, it's like there's a lot of detail to this very tiny font that in my mind was associated with Mary Magdalene. Do not ask me why, because there's a cross, there's the Sacred Heart. It's the blue that drew me in. And Mary Magdalene is the thread. So this was the book that I found that I didn't realize I was looking for. I found this holy water font a few days later. I think this has all happened within the week. So this is Friday. I think last Saturday, I went to the bookstore, Saturday or Sunday. And I'm still looking at this. And it's just beautiful. And immediately when I first saw it, it's like, oh, that's so beautiful. I want it. So I put it in my shopping cart. And then what happened was my brain came in and listed off all the reasons why it was going to be a no. Notice I said my brain. There's a difference between the brain saying no and the rest of us saying no. And the rest of me, this was an absolute yes. The price was well within my capacity to manage, like well within it. And even now, like I can feel my body like just energetically responding to this vessel. So what my brain was saying is that's not your tradition. It doesn't make any sense. Why are we even talking about Mary Magdalene? Even though I I understand on one level why, but my brain just my intellect had all sorts of questions. And I I just kept I put a pause on this real vintage thing that I've now like saved the picture of. Um, so now we're going to go into the dream, and I'm just going to be real brief about it. I dreamt of an altar candle. So one of those 7-day altar candles, or 10-day altar candles. And it was like the most beautiful altar candle I have seen. And it had a stained glass, like it was a stained glass altar candle, and it had this beautiful blue panel on it. So just imagine an altar candle, white, and the glass of the candle is done as though it were stained glass. And one of the featured colors is that blue that you might associate with Mother Mary, also Mary Magdalene, and then prior to Mary Magdalene, the lineage that is prior to Mary Magdalene, which may be where all of this is leading me. I haven't figured that part out yet. So the candle had a price tag. It was the price tag was under $2. I won't give all the details of the dream, but it was under $2. And I'm just going to stop right there. There was more to the dream that was meaningful to me, but I'm going to stop right there because what I recognized when I came out of this dream was I, again, had this very big response to this candle, like immediately, like, oh, that candle's for me. That is a beautiful candle. And I have the resources to have it. I have the resources to exchange for this candle. Like it's a no-brainer. And that's what I woke up with. When I have the resources for something that I am so clearly inspired by, I need to buy it. I need to exchange the resources. I need to give what I have to get that thing if it's within my means. So I didn't do that with this Etsy vintage holy water font. I left it. I went, like, I knew exactly what the dream was pointing me to, at least on the level that I could relate with it at this time. I went and looked at the basket. My brain was still doing its thing. And I forgot about it for a couple of days. And I went back either today or yesterday, and it had been sold. And this is where I knew I failed my assignment. I could feel, and even when I look at it now, like there's just something in me that's like, ah, we missed our opportunity. So I've had this experience a couple of times in my life, and it's an important experience to pay attention to. Now, I could say that this vintage piece is just a vintage piece. Like it's no big deal. It's not going to change my life to have it or not have it, et cetera, et cetera. And that's actually how I have reasoned with myself over the majority of my adult life about the number of things that I've said no to. I don't really need it. It's not really important. On one level, that's true. However, when we are working with the world symbolically, these little pointers, these like breadcrumbs, I think a lot about the story of Hansel and Gretel, you know. And sometimes our the things that we follow and engage with sometimes sometimes they do lead us to the witch's hut. And sometimes they do lead us to an actual, I don't like gingerbread, so I'd be going for a different kind of candy house. Or maybe you're going for a vegetable garden, or, I was thinking about my carnivores earlier today, and, maybe you're going for a meat forest. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes the the instincts that we follow in life lead us into dark places. Sometimes those instincts lead us into like the delicious reward. So both of those things are true. What I'm encouraging for any of those of you out there who really want to engage life from a symbolic perspective, because that is such a richly rewarding way to appreciate the intelligence of your intuition and the intelligence of life, and the fact that we are a part of life. We are being communicated with, and we are communicating all the time. So yes, on the one hand, this little piece is, could be considered insignificant. In terms of what has been happening in my life, and then having this thing show up on my screen, and then having a representation of it show up in my dreaming life to guide me back to making this purchase that I was inspired to make, and then not making the purchase, and then seeing that it was sold to somebody else, is a reminder of a couple of things. And I want you guys to pay attention to this for yourselves. We get inspiration all the time. The question is, are we paying attention, and are we willing to take action on the things that we know are ours to take action on? And you will know when you've been inspired by something and it's yours to take action on. And if you participate long enough, you're going to have the experience of not taking action, and then what that feels like in your body when you miss the opportunity. So I want, and it's not that we will have new opportunities. We will have new opportunities. But what I recognized when I missed the opportunity for this particular Etsy piece, the Etsy piece is just representative of something. I've had this experience of following my yeses, following those breadcrumbs long enough in my life to know that they take me somewhere that I didn't know to take myself. And it's usually somewhere that's like hella fun. So this momentarily feels like I let the trail go cold because I didn't participate. I didn't continue. I didn't like pick up that thread and say, yes, I accept this gift, this physical representation of an energetic inspiration, because that's what the physical world is. It's a material, tangible representation of what's happening internally in our creative space. So somebody made this beautiful thing, something in me responded to it on a non-verbal level, and I let my verbal level get in the way because it does not understand. My verbal personality, my verbal level does not understand what my non-verbal self understood about saying yes to this thing. So going back to dreams giving us assignments, when you learn to talk with your dreams, you may discover that you are being given assignments. Some people will call them tests. In this case, this was an assignment. I was delivered to this book first, then this font. There's something that showed up in my dreams. There are a number of other things that have also been showing up as well. And I will continue to pay attention. There will be other things that will be brought to my attention, but I am tracking something right now and I don't know what it is. And you will also be tracking things in your dreams that are relevant to your life and whatever it is you're trying to develop in yourself, or whatever questions it is you're trying to answer for yourself, you will be tracking. And a lot of this tracking doesn't happen necessarily all at once. It's a series of responses that we give to the invitations that come to us. So I don't know what you're dreaming, so I can't tell you like where to look in your dreams. But what I can say is, when you are in the dream, notice how you're responding to things. And when you come out of the dream, notice how you physically feel when you wake up and you're running through the imagery. And that's gonna give you your first clues about what the daytime assignments or messaging is for you in your dream time. So my voice is getting really tired. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. I really just wanted to share that story so you could have like so that you could see in someone else's experience how a dream might be talking to you. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to sign off. I do still have seats available in my introductory dream class if you are interested in learning how to begin a dialogue with your own dreams. It is one of the best ways I feel for having direct communication with our sense of guidance, our creativity, our sense of our inspiration for life and in life. So I think dreams, I know they're very powerful. There's a long history in all of humanity across all cultures of people turning to their dreams for guidance and answers and healing, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a tool that I have been so appreciative of for much of my life. So what is this? Oh yeah, happy Saturday morning. And I will talk with you again soon. Thank you so much.